I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We gotta get those chairs back.
Yeah, I know. At this time, Mr. Lego, would you please do the roll call? Mrs. Issing.
Here.
Mr. Kachasik.
Here.
Dr. Koschko.
Here.
Mr. Bill Leonard is absent. Mr. Dallas Leonard.
Here.
Mr. Matarazzo.
Here.
Mr. Nemeth.
Here.
Mr. Petrucci.
Here.
Mr. Stovall.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Lego. You're welcome. At this time, turn over to Dr. Harris for information.
Sure, and thank you. First up, we have Nick Ferlino. He's the high school student representative.
Good evening, members of the school board. As Dr. Harris just said, my name is Nicholas Ferlino. I am the Student Union School Board representative, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of 3 different organizations as well. First, my report for the Student Union homecoming planning is going as planned. We're having no issues so far. We are also planning on having some outdoor areas, some tents to have set up so that everybody's not confined to the gym or to the cafeteria the whole night. They can go out and get some fresh air if they need to, or just be away from a large group of people. Are there any questions on the homecoming planning? All right. Secondly, I'm also the drum major of the marching band here. We just had our first home show this Saturday. It was a great success. The band performed very well. And the band would like to thank you for your support of the arts continuously, and especially thank Mr. Tony Aquilio, our principal, for coming out and supporting the band in person on Saturday. We really do appreciate it. And Mr. C would also like me to remind you that we will be hosting Region 8 Tournament of Bands Championships here on October 23rd on Saturday, so if you would be willing to come to that to spare some time, the band would really appreciate that.
And Nick, I know you have a trip also next month. It's not on the schedule tonight, but it's to be approved for next month. And it's
I believe the trip at the moment is planned for January, but I believe it will be coming to the school board at some point for approval soon. Yeah. The next organization is the Drama Guild. I just came from our first rehearsal, and I'll be going back after I speak. So unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole meeting, but Mrs. Haverger wanted me to invite you all to Dracula, a comic thriller, which will be our fall play. It will be one day only, two performances on Saturday, November 6th, one at 3:30 and one at 7 o'clock in the evening. And again, if you would be willing to spare some time and come to see our show, everybody in the Drama Guild would greatly appreciate that as well. And lastly, I'd like to speak on behalf of the Penn Trafford High School Barbershop Harmony Society that Mr. Fox and I just founded this last week. We had our founding meeting this Friday. It went very well. We had 12 people show up, and there are more that are planning on coming. So thank you for your support with that organization, and we look forward to coming and possibly performing for you and the rest of the school at some point this year.
Well, Nick, you're going to be representing the student body the rest of the year, right?
Yes, I am.
So how did you get this position?
Well, I applied for the election for student union representative for the school board, and I was elected last May.
Good for you.
Thank you.
College aspirations?
Yes, my first choice is Georgetown University, where I'll be going to study government, and then hopefully going on to law school.
Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great representative. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you getting dressed up like this. Sometimes people come to board meetings not quite in that attire. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Other news we have, I know I talked about next month we're going to be approving the band and choir trip. They're actually taking one together, which I thought was very interesting. That's the first time that ever happened. Tonight we have a cheerleading tournament out of state that we are going to approve. All the trips are actually, the kids pay for the trips. The only expense we pay for is the cost of the bus to the airport. So that's what we actually pay for as a district for those trips. And it's nice to see the trips are going forward. Unfortunately, the trip to Deer Valley this year for the second year in a row is not able due to the restrictions of Deer Valley and the Department of Health regulations. We still want to take the current 6th graders as well, because if you remember last year, they missed their trip too. So now this is like 2 groups of grade 6 and grade 5 that we want to get in to go to Deer Valley. This past Friday, I did send out an update information from the Department of Education on Friday confirming the requirements that we have to follow for any exemptions. I am glad they sent the specific information out to all the schools, but I wish they could have done it sooner. The distance of a close contact has now changed from 6 feet to 3 feet due to the mask order. This will help lower the number of children who have to quarantine based on the desk arrangements and enrollments. Currently, we have online tutors available to help with the students that are quarantined. The district will continue to monitor the current setup to determine if modifications are needed to be made. I know last week someone requested that what did we spend the money for the COVID funds? They were spent on network updates, including switches and access points, document cameras, Chromebooks, computer labs, online instructional programs, summer learning camp, cleaning supplies, hand sanitizers, personal protection equipment. We have another $465,000 earmarked for resource teachers and tutors to help with this year for the remote learning and remediation. We have another $1,859,852 geared towards building improvements, and we are also looking into the UV lights. So that's basically an update with the funds. And finally, Brian Russell, he is George Dunsbar's Chief of Staff. He is here tonight to address the status of the mass order in the legislature as requested by the district from last week.
Excuse me, Brian, before you start, I apologize, I was remiss in not reading something I should have read. As a Pennsylvania school district, we are subject to the order and regulation to enforce the mask requirement. Signs have been posted and we've had masks available and ask all people to please wear a face covering as per the order as we may conduct our business tonight. So if you'd be willing to put your face mask on so we can conduct business in an orderly fashion, we'd appreciate it. Anything else? Thank you for those. Please put that on. Just like as a board, we're trying to be a good example for our students and families as well. Thank you very much. This time, Brian.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Rosalind, and I am the Chief of Staff for Representative Dunbar. It's kind of awkward to look back at you while I'm trying to talk. But
Brian, you can take the.
It's okay. I spoke with many of you. There we go. I've had the pleasure of speaking with many of you over this time, and as George is currently in Harrisburg working on the issue of the health secretary's mandate, he did ask that I attend this evening to have a little bit of a discussion about this. So the representative, as well as the majority caucuses in both chambers, wholeheartedly agree that the governor and his secretary have again overstepped their statutory authority that the majority of Pennsylvanians voted to strip from the governor with a constitutional referendum in May. As the repercussions for ignoring the mandate can be severe and the House and Senate members cannot provide local boards with immunity, they've been taking the kitchen sink approach to the matter. George has advocated to the chamber for a 3-tiered approach using all available options for the legislature, an approach of which they are taking. First, a lawsuit seeking an injunction to the order was filed September 3rd and will be heard in the Commonwealth Court September the 16th. Parents from both Penn Trafford and Norwin school districts have requested to be added to the amicus brief of said lawsuit. That is, parents from this community are they themselves joining the statewide litigation in order to overturn these mandates. Second, the House of Representatives is going to go back into session early to try to address this legislatively. Now, I need to be very frank with you. The governor can still veto legislation. So what they're working on is trying to reach across the aisle in order to get the 2/3 majority that they need in order to override any potential veto from the governor. This legislation would challenge the authority of an unelected acting secretary who is yet to be confirmed by the Senate to pass the mandate to begin with. These bills will be a straightforward removal of authority as well as taking the third and final step, which will be a constitutional amendment. This avenue does, however, take time as it must pass 2 consecutive session terms before going to the voters for a referendum. When this occurred with the governor's initial power mandate, it just happened that we were backing up to 2 consecutive sessions at the end there. This one would take significantly longer, but they are going to move ahead with it. So for all parties involved, the majority of whom have clearly voiced their opposition to these decrees, the parents, the school board, and the administration, we hope to get a positive result on Thursday in the Commonwealth Court. So, with that, anybody who has any further questions on this, please contact the office. I would normally stay and do this, but it is my wife's birthday, and she's already mad at me for not being at home. So, all right, thank you all.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Okay, at this time, we're going to have procedure for audience recognition. I just want to compliment our audience. Last week, I don't know if you know, Channel 4 happened to be here, and their cameraman complimented, he said, you know what, your people are amazing, because we respected each other, we didn't agree, and there was people that were, had emotional situations, but you know what, this is a wonderful community, so I hope tonight will be the same way. As far as the procedure for audience recognition, this is not a stage for debate or answering questions. What it is an opportunity for the community to express opinions, to voice concerns. If you do have questions, please email our office, central office, Dr. Harris, and those that have email know that Dr. Harris responds, and we will get back to you. We don't want to misinterpret somebody, but by putting it in writing, by doing an email, you'll get the proper response and the respect that you deserve. So I just want to encourage you, if there's questions, this is not our role tonight to answer questions or debate. We're here to listen. So at this time, I'll be asking at your statement, you have to, when you come to the microphone, please state your name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Your statement must be limited to 5 minutes in duration. I might add, we have 28 speakers tonight.
29.
Oh, sorry, be amended, make it 29. And we just ask that you respect each other. Whichever side of the proverbial aisle you're on, please show respect, because people, this is an emotional concern for all of us. The statement shall be directed only to the president, and no participant may address or question a board member individually. You may be interrupted if your statement is too lengthy, 5 minutes, personally direct, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. So with those things in mind, we'll have people start to come up. At this time, Erica Yurt, would you please come to the microphone? Not speaking? Okay. Shannon Coakley. Is Shannon here? Oh, good. And you might notice, board members, we take notes on what people are saying. It's not like you're just hearing. We are listening and trying to respond accordingly. So we're taking notes, so thank you. Okay, Shannon?
Hi, Shannon Coakley, 679 Meadowbrook Road, Trafford, Pennsylvania. You guys heard so many great people last week. There is nothing more I can add about masks. I do believe that what's going on in this country is so much bigger than this. And I know every one of you guys are going to have to draw a line at some point. What will we allow them to keep doing to us? What will we allow them to keep mandating and requiring? And it's going to be more and more. And each one of you guys have to ask the question, where's my line? When am I going to say enough? I'm not in your position. I feel bad for your position. I feel it's unfair for me to be asking you what I'm asking you. You're facing threats, which is ridiculous and unfair. But for me to ask you that, it's 100% right. I'm the mom of 2 boys in your school. I had a girl who graduated. This is a great community. We're going to need each other. See, I don't know if everybody understands the magnitude of what's happening in this country. This isn't about masks. This is about control. This is about the complete and utter change of this country. People are saying things like, heck with your freedoms. Wow. How did we get here? How did we allow all of these people put in these positions? I'm just going to ask you guys to think about, where's your line? What would you lose your job for? Because right now, my kid's wearing a mask at school. I never had to do that. The other day, it was like the second day of school, and he said in science I was dizzy. And then he came home and he had a headache. And I find it interesting that a lot of the things that happen when you wear a mask, the dizziness, the headaches, the shortness of breath, they're all coincidentally very similar to the coronavirus. We need you guys. And what we're asking of you is so unfair. To stand up for us or for me. I'm asking you something that I'm not facing myself. Just please think very hard about what it is that you will allow. How many things will you allow to go on in the school? Because it has to stop. The masks are just the beginning. And any of you who know this have seen these things. Please, anyone who doesn't, I want you to look at what's happening in Australia. I want you to look at what's happening in New Zealand right now. It is crazy. This is a loss of our country. It's a loss of our freedom. And with the mask wearing and possible vaccine mandates, this is about the loss of our kids. Thanks very much.
Thank you for expressing your
Thanks.
At this time, would Corey Gross please come forward?
No, I don't see her.
Corey not here?
No.
Okay. Ryan Sinceri, would you please come up?
Good evening, everybody. Sorry I don't have my Sunday's best on today. I had to coach soccer, but my little guy's over there hanging out with us, so hope you don't mind. Today I wanted to talk about more freely, rather than reading something from a manuscript that I did last week. Just wanted to kind of talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that's possible vaccine mandates for our children. So I'm not okay with it. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I'm also able to look up statistics and facts, and I would encourage everyone to do so. So if we get to the point where they mandate vaccines for our children, I'm hoping you guys aren't going to stand up there with the same stance you're taking on the masks. I'm going through things and I'm looking up details and facts that I could find, and I found things interesting. Rather than reading numbers and just make boring everybody, I wanted to have facts about comparisons of what this is to what something else is. So, for example, per the CDC, your child between the ages of 10 to 19 are 26 times more likely to die in a car accident than they are to die of COVID. That's from the CDC website. So if you want, you can look up 10 to 19-year-olds' death by car accidents. It's 2,400. That same age group is 26 times less over the whole, this whole thing. So that's interesting. Also, per a recent study out of the University of California, your male child between the age of 12 to 15 is 6 times more likely to have a heart problem from the vaccine than to be hospitalized with COVID. That's pretty interesting. So we can ruin our kids' life because they need a shot that really doesn't affect anyone. I can't allow my kids to play adult make-believe with everyone. Can't. In recent studies in Germany and Sweden, they found the lungs are fully recovered from children after COVID-19 infection. So kids, after they get the infection, if they are even sick, because we keep counting quarantines and problems, but you have hundreds of kids running around school that don't have any symptoms. It's called asymptomatic COVID infection. It does happen, and it's happening all the time. So the quarantine and all this stuff is nonsense as well. Natural immunity from COVID-19. This is a big one because for some reason, Mr. Fauci doesn't want to talk about it, or he doesn't want to give a solid answer. But it's more than 6 times more effective than getting the vaccine, according to the study out of Israel, which is pretty well renowned at this point. Shouldn't we be checking for antibodies rather than shooting our kids up with a vaccine that we have no idea what it does? And then my kid's here because I was able to reproduce. Thank God for that. The NIH is offering millions of dollars to study menstruation issues after receiving the vaccine. I wonder what might happen in the long term to our daughters who haven't even started menstruating yet. It's pretty scary, especially people having menstruation issues, and now we're going to start, oh, you're mandated to get this vaccine? I just can't agree with it. I'm sorry. My question is, why are we throwing caution to the wind with respect to this vaccine? For those of you who are okay with this, please send me an email and let me know why this is a good idea. I'm all ears. Are we actually following science, or are we following dollar signs? The children is where we draw the line. My wife and I, we withdrew our kids from school because I can't, with any integrity or character, send my kids to a school to march around in the clown show that's happening right now in your district. You're allowing the masks. I understand you're between a rock and a hard place, but the last young lady who was up here talking, she stated, where do you draw the line? Are you going to make our kids get mandates to come to school? You're going to lose a lot more than the people you see here from your school district. I can guarantee you that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, Robert Clayton. Is Robert here? Now, I might add, the way we're calling it's not who's one side, whatever. These are the order in which people called their names in. The way they signed up. So this was the sign-up list, not by any other way of distinguishing who comes first, second, third. At this time, Amy Collins Law.
Good evening. My name is Amy Collins Law, class of 2000 alum, resident of 1 Penn Hills Drive in Irwin, and mother of twin 4th grade students and a 1st grade student at Sunrise Elementary. I'll be reading a letter co-signed by more than 70 parents across the district in a matter of 24 hours from 8 o'clock last night until we stand before you today, thanking the board and administration for adhering to the Pennsylvania Department of Health mandate in just a moment. And I'll send the letter and the names and addresses to you following this meeting. But first, a few comments of my own on the dangers of misinformation. I think back to my time at Penn Trafford and in college when I had to pull sources together for papers. Those sources had to carry with them some validity. They had to be from a reputable source. They had to have a basis in fact, not fiction. They had to be properly cited. And now, some 20 years later, I think about what misinformation is teaching our children. If a child turned into paper citing half of the sources I heard used to debunk masking effectiveness, a reasonable educator would give that paper a failing grade. Some among us would cry censorship, that those voices that dissent are being censored. But it is not censorship at all. It is scholarship. The experience of experts, the information we gather and glean from those who have studied infectious disease, who have worked under COVID protocols and with COVID patients, and those who have the education, training, and background to be considered experts in those arenas. Those voices are the voices of scholarship. They carry with them the weight and experience, the benefit of education. And when the stakes are as high as they are, when misinformation can literally cause illness or worse in our community, it is important to rebut and rebuke misinformation. Now I'd like to take the opportunity to read the letter I mentioned and point out that over half of those who have signed this are the doctors and nurses that our first two speakers were not. They work as healthcare heroes in addition to parents, and I personally want to thank them for their dedication and hard work in these challenging times before I read this letter. On behalf of the Penn Trafford parents who have been following public health expertise and advice to protect their children and families from COVID-19, we would like to thank this board and administration for adhering to the PA Department of Health mandate. Even if you personally don't subscribe fully to the science of masking, even if despite the overwhelming academic and clinical research on the efficacy of mask wearing for not only the person wearing the mask, but the people around the person wearing the mask, if you doubt that it is a crucial mitigation effort to prevent COVID-19 transmission, the ripple effects that could occur if Penn Trafford would go against this mandate would be detrimental to the well-being of all students in this district and would create a spectacle detracting from our common concern, the education of our children. By simply asking kids to do what they have been doing since last year, simply wearing a mask in school, we are demonstrating to them the importance of good citizenship, of care and concern for their fellow students and their community members, and the healthcare professionals that live among our community. We are showing the value of expert opinion. We are respecting the wishes of the many healthcare providers who live in our communities, who continue to care for patients while people in this room laugh. Frankly, let's start the year wearing masks so that we can work toward ending the year without them. Masking indefinitely isn't what any of us want, but by being smart and following the mandate, while public health authorities continue to monitor transmission rates and risks, will help us collectively work toward a future where we can remove all of these restrictions. Again, on behalf of those parents who have signed on to this statement, thank you for adhering to the mandate. And I'd like to read a list of the names so you know that these are real people in our community. Amy Collins Law, Lisa Grubless, Mark Cartwright, Teresa Ross, Megan Lonzo, Angela Brook, Tara Johnson, Carly Duddy, Katie Cass, Justin Cass, Catherine Dixon, Kristen Fairbaugh, Pamela Zackel, Karen Frye, David Frye, Rochelle Lehman, William Wilson, Nicole.
Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but your 5 minutes are up right now, but thank you, and you'll be passing that letter along to us. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, Ms. Nina Murphy, please step up.
Did you skip someone? Jennifer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer Huber. Please forgive me, Ms. Jennifer Huber.
Thank you.
Okay. I was taking notes under the wrong name. Sorry about that. Nina Murphy, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I have a very soft voice, so sorry about that. I'm Nina Murphy. I live at 10 Point Circle in Level Green. We moved here in 2018, and we chose Level Green because we liked Penn Trafford School District. We liked that it was focused on the students, the families, and of course, the education. I'm standing here today at a loss about what this district decided to do regarding the mask exemption. And I know we've been over this, but I'm just airing out my thoughts. After voting 8-0 and taking what the community wanted into consideration, you decided to follow a guidance on a Q&A section as the original order. I understand you're waiting for the lawsuit coming up, but why, when we are hearing of other school districts putting in lawsuits and fighting for their students? You as the board for our district are choosing to ignore what we feel is best for our kids. You bent the knee to the governor, to the acting secretary of health, and the Department of Education for a recommendation. And that is baffling to me. But I digress. What I really came here to say was what was said last week at the school board meeting didn't really sit well with me. I wasn't physically in the room, so I don't really know who said it. But they said, as parents sitting in the audience, we don't have an ethical or legal obligation to this school district, which makes it easy for us to speak out against the mandate. I don't know this person, but I can say that was insulting. My son is in kindergarten at Level Green. He was born 3 months early at 27 weeks, 1 pound, 11 ounces. I lost his twin at birth. So for 72 days, I watched him fight to survive. For 10 weeks, I fought him fight to breathe. He came home on oxygen, diagnosed with chronic lung disease, so I have been careful with my children. I know what the risk is, and I know that they're completely fine with this thing, having high-risk kids. So for 5.5 years, we worried about him and his brothers, who were also preemies, and we were cautious with the flu and RSV. And now the government is telling me to put it on their face with face coverings with even more germs. I can't. I don't co-parent with the government, and I don't bow down to anyone but the Almighty. My son gets on the bus, and he has to be in school with a mask on, and he doesn't want to go. That breaks my heart. It really does. We're teaching them that breathing fresh air are getting people sick, that we should be living in fear all the time, because we aren't created to live in fear. We are created to have a spirit of power and of love and of sound mind. And I instill that in my boys every day. And what was said was true. I don't have an obligation to this school district, but I do have an obligation to my kids. And if I don't fight or advocate for them, who will? I learned that in the NICU. I was made to be their mother. So 10 years from now, when they ask me, what did you do when tyranny was running rampant? I can say that we obeyed God, we defied tyrants, and we did not stay silent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This time, Danielle Lang.
Good evening. My name's Danielle Lang, and I live at Gregerson Road in Irwin. I had a formal speech prepared, and I decided that I'm going to speak from my heart. And I want to share with you inconsistencies that are happening throughout your district based on following the mandate. So let me start my story off by saying August 26th of 2021, the first day of school, optional masking, voted on by all of you. Our kids were sitting 3 feet, maybe a little farther apart on that day, whether they had a mask or they didn't have a mask. Let's fast forward to September 7th, 2021, when the masking became mandated. We have children in a specific elementary school that have been discriminated against and segregated to sit alone in the front of the room next to their teacher, facing other peers. How is this even right? Because they have a medical disability and they have the exemption to not wear a mask from their doctor? Nothing on the CDC website states that a child without a mask has to sit farther away. Nothing in the Penn Trafford School District policy for COVID states that that child has to sit farther away. and nothing from the Department of Education states the child has to be seated farther away. I can tell you this is not happening in all of your elementary buildings. It is only happening in one, which is Sunrise Elementary. And there is more than one child that is being discriminated against. If you look at the CDC guidelines, there is a question. When there are students with approved mask exemptions in the classroom, what are some ways to ensure the safety of other students and staff in that classroom? Maintain at least 3 feet of physical distance between the students. Promote COVID vaccinations if eligible. Work with public health partners to implement screening testing. Collaborate with the DOH. Have teachers and staff wash or sanitize hands before and helping a student put on or adjust their mask. Remind students frequently not to touch their face. Improve classroom ventilation by opening a door or cracking a window. Use safe fans in the classroom. Consider having activities outside. Frequently clean and sanitize classroom desk areas. Keep students together in small groups throughout the day. Use creative seating arrangements. Let me preface, creative, not segregating our students that have medical disabilities. Have all students facing the same direction opposed to facing each other. Why are certain students having to look at their peers because they cannot wear a mask because of a medical disability? Limit non-essential visitors, provide individual resources, and encourage students and staff and teachers who have signs of infectious illness to stay home. Let me ask you this. They all go to lunch and they sit 3 feet apart without a mask on. Why are our children's desks being moved in that elementary school when the rest of the kids are sitting 3 feet apart as they did day 1 and day 2 of school, whether it was optional at that time? How is this allowed? This is against the American Disability Act. This is against discrimination of the Department of Education. And this is against human relations. So I ask you that this be taken care of before our children return to school tomorrow. My last question is, I think that it's only fair that an email was sent to all the parents of 5th graders and 5th graders last year that the Deer Valley trip has been canceled again, when we're hearing of other trips throughout the school being approved. I believe that we deserve context of why that trip cannot happen. And if that trip cannot happen, why not forming a different field trip for our 5th graders this year? Other educational trips and things that they can do that meet the COVID protocol. Why do they have to suffer when band and cheerleaders get to go away? My last point is, I understand that your hands are tied, and I understand what they're doing to you, and I don't agree. And I know that some of you have spoke out that you are on our side, but I know that you're all afraid. But to discriminate and segregate our children at that young age when they already have a disability and already have problems with their peers is uncalled for. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. At this time, Karen Frye. Is Karen here? Thank you. If I can make a comment in reference to Deer Valley, that's something also with Deer Valley, not our decision. They're involved in that. Okay, just want to comment, so there'll be response on that.
Hi, my name's Karen Frye. I live at 113 Cool Springs Lane in Harrison City. I had originally planned on coming here tonight and speaking about my thoughts regarding last week's meeting and the events that followed as the mask mandate went into effect. But instead, I'm just going to keep this really short and sweet. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the board and the administration for following the mandate guidelines in spite of opposition to ensure our children remain safe. Thank you for not opening up our school district to lawsuits or loss of state funding that would surely lead to necessary tax hikes, as we are taxed enough already. Like you and everyone else in this room, I'm awaiting the ruling on Thursday in Harrisburg. I know that we're in the minority and we might not be loud or vocal, but there is a large group of parents in the community who believe that masks are the best line of defense for our children in preventing large-scale outbreaks of COVID like we are seeing in other districts like Hiskey and Beaver. But make no mistake, we don't like them either. The parents are doctors, pediatricians, nurses, and other medical professionals who are working in direct patient care. Many of these patients have COVID right now. These parents are also therapists, pharmacists, teachers, research scientists, or speech therapists like myself. We're here and we're grateful that you chose to follow the rules when asked to do the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. At this time, Rita Randall? Not speaking? Thank you. Reginalahote?
Hello, my name is Reginalahote. I live in Penn Township or Level Green, and I wasn't going to speak tonight because I thought in the past I've said what needed to be said, and since we got that email on Friday saying that the board had no choice but to follow the state mandates, I was feeling a little bit more comfortable about things. That, however, keeps changing every time we hear about this new lawsuit that's going on, and every time we're reminded that the majority voted for masks. I know the other parents who are not a small group. You figure if 60-some% voted for masks, you've got the other percentage that have voted wrong way with those stats, but you get what I mean. My point is, there are a lot of kids and a lot of adults talking about how, yeah, I didn't like the mask idea in the first place either, but I'm over it. My kids want to go to school. They want to learn. They want to be in person. My son is homesick. He's been homesick from Wednesday through Thursday of last week. I don't think he has COVID because he has been vaccinated as soon as he could get the vaccine. However,
Please, yes, and it's from the board as well. We need to respect each other, so please hold our other comments. Thank you.
I'm not sure what the laughing is about because all kids get sick. He does not have COVID.
Excuse me, if we're going to have other cat calls, we're going to be asking people to leave. I'd rather have one or two people have to leave than close the whole meeting.
I thought they had to leave
That
if they
is
didn't
an
have
option.
masks on anyways.
So please, would you let her, this lady, please continue? Thank you.
Anyways, he's sick, not with COVID, but with something else. But because his symptoms are congestion and a sore throat, and he's missed so much school already, and now he was off again today, I tried to make an appointment at my primary care doctor's office so that he could get a school excuse. Because as we all know, more than 10 days, you have a problem if you only have a parent excuse and not a school excuse. I have to wait several more days to get that school excuse because since his symptoms are similar to COVID, he cannot go into the doctor's office until we have a negative test. I spent from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. this morning calling Children's Hospital, UPMC Urgent Care out in North Huntington, 3 different CVS locations, 5 different Rite Aid locations, 4 different Walgreens, several Med Expresses. It wasn't until I hit on Giant Eagle in Monroeville that I found a place that could give him a COVID test. All of the doctor's offices are overrun. No one can see him. All of the COVID tests are running out or running low. There are no rapids to be found anywhere except apparently Giant Eagle. And even with that rapid test, it's going to take 1 to 2 days, so it's not really the rapid test, but it's better than 5. He's going to now miss like a week and a half of school because he can't come back yet because our health care providers are overrun. The hospitals are full. Wait times at Children's Hospital and other places are 8 and 9 hours. Beaver's closing, Kiskey's closing. I really want my child in school. I want him in the building. I don't want him home for 2 weeks every time he gets the sniffles, but now that's where we're at because of the lack of the masking that's going on and probably also the low vaccination rates as well. I understand that some of you may not agree with the mask mandate, but where does that leave those of us who do agree with it? And as far as the children who are supposedly being discriminated against, if your child has a medical condition and they can't wear a mask, then the rules clearly state they need to be 6 feet from everyone else. It does, but whatever. They stated that at the beginning. Can you stop interrupting me?
This is not a debate night, please. Let this person speak. You have the floor. This is
I'm
not a
not
debate.
calling out people's children.
People, please, this is not debate time. Everybody has a chance to speak.
And again, maybe this is calling out people too, but I've been writing down the different studies that have been cited over the last several weeks. I'm not going to say by who, but just over the last several weeks. One study in particular by NIH saying supposedly that masks were not at all proven to be effective. Though if you do more than 5 minutes of checking, those have all been debunked from the NIH themselves. The gentleman who supposedly wrote that opinion piece is not a staff member of NIH. He is not a staff member of Stanford. All of the organizations who he claimed to represent have said he's not one of ours. He spoke here as an adjunct faculty member. He is not our staff. That is only one example of the many studies that people have referenced that I've gone and looked up because I wanted to know, where is this stuff coming from? Why are there all these different opinions? I could go on for days and days.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
All right,
Thank
I'm done.
you very much for your comments. At this time, Stacy Glister. Is Stacy here? No? Okay. Belle Mulhern.
Hi, my name is Belle Mulhern. I live at 1000 Cedar Court in Harrison City. I am 19 years old and a 2020 Penn Trafford graduate. 2020 was the first graduating class to experience the age of COVID-19. Everyone was dealing with the unknown. We could only rely on what we were being told by the experts, and even they seemed unsure of their projections, and they were grim, and eventually wildly incorrect. Ex-Governor Cuomo of New York even warned that every family would have an empty seat at their dinner table, and that every single one of us would lose at least one close loved one. It was terrifying. We were told that just 2 weeks of shutdowns, masking, and social distancing would flatten the curve and put us back on the path to normalcy. Yet here we are, nearly 2 years later. As a graduate of the class of 2020, my senior year is particularly memorable. I didn't have a prom, a proper graduation ceremony, or the chance to say my final goodbyes to my teachers and classmates, but I'm not here to whine about what I lost. I'm here as the voice of someone who experienced this firsthand and can empathize with the ramifications. Your students are being stripped of a proper social atmosphere. They are being robbed of unforgettable and irreplaceable moments. The quality of their education has decreased, and you've created an unnecessary climate of fear and divide between students. Among many other health concerns, alarmingly higher teen suicide rates have already been documented since the pandemic began as a result of shattered dreams, depression, and isolation. Do not minimize the enormity of the long-term effects that these so-called mitigation efforts have on your students. My youngest brother is a PT senior this year. He works at our local Giant Eagle, which requires that their employees wear masks. He is also a member of the Penn Trafford Marching Band. This means that almost all of his waking hours are spent wearing a mask. My brother isn't one for conflict and is a rule follower, so he does what he's told to do, but has relayed to our family that he despises it. I can only imagine that many of the students that seemingly don't care about the mandate feel similarly. This is just not natural or healthy, nor does it provide anything but theater. This is negatively impacting your students, even if they obey without resistance. Can anyone explain why the goalpost just keeps getting moved? The selectivity of when and where masks are required defies logic and science. The same kids that are forced to have their mask over their nose and mouth the entire school day can go sit down together at Sweet Buzz and take them off, and they do. While I was out shopping the other day, I ran into one of my former high school teachers, maskless. The people being forced to wear masks during school hours are leaving and taking them right off. How does this make sense? How is it effective? This leads me to believe that the science is not at the heart of this matter, but that control is. When is enough enough? When Governor Wolf mandates vaccines for all students K through 12, will you let that slide just as easily for fear of losing funding? This school board chose to require a doctor's signature for exemption rather than allowing a parent to decide what is best for their child. Optional masking had already been voted on and passed unanimously. Your hands are not tied, and other school boards have bravely and rightfully sided with their constituents' wishes. At the time of writing this, there has been 37,689 total cases of COVID in Westmoreland County and 809 deaths, bringing the mortality rate to 0.02%. Furthermore, the average age of death was 81. As aforementioned, driving your children to school every day presents a greater risk of injury or death to your child than that of COVID. The people in power claim to follow the science, especially our own Pennsylvania governor, yet I'm unsure what science he was following when declaring a statewide mask mandate, as if the numbers in Philadelphia or Harrisburg reflect the same numbers in our small district. This is not science, this is overreach. As local elected officials, your duty to your constituents has been overlooked and overridden. How do you find this acceptable? If you truly have the best interest of our students in mind, you need to act like it. I know it's tough to go against what is now considered normal. After all, I'm a college student against mask mandates. It's not too popular. But you cannot claim to care about the well-being of these kids while playing an active role in harming their development and school experience. If you care about what the residents of this district have to say, and especially about what the parents of this district want for their children, you need to do something about it. As Abraham Lincoln once said, "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who would pervert the Constitution."
I'm sorry. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you. At this time, Anders Selvig. Anders not here? Okay, thank you. Ann LaCoyer? Ann? Not here tonight? Stacy Glister. Is Stacy here? Someone's glad you're here.
Hello, my name is Stacy Glister. I live at 110 McMahon Drive in Manor. I have been a registered nurse now for over 11 years. I am a single mother, and I have 2 young boys that attend Harrison Park in 3rd and 4th grades. Before I continue, I want to point out that I have no issues with the faculty at Harrison Park and adored every teacher my boys have had, along with any interaction I've ever had with the principal, which unfortunately has been a few. I wish I had the magic speech that could turn this situation around regarding masking our children. I do not have that. I recognize that this is above the teachers, principals, and probably you as a school board. I know that you voted 8-0 for optional masking. This is not news for any of us. I appreciate you making the rational decision for our kids in mid-August, and I wish I could help everyone understand that a plain cloth mask is just ineffective. At hospitals, I have been fitted yearly for an N95 mask since 2007 in order to safely care for patients with airborne precautions such as TB and now COVID-19. COVID-19 is an airborne transmitted virus. I have cared for many COVID-19 patients. I was unable to enter the rooms of these patients unless I wore an N95 mask, goggles, gown, and gloves. I had to carefully don and doff the PPE in order to be safe from contacting COVID-19. Even in the shortage, our N95 masks were deemed ineffective after 12 hours of use. I wish the media would stop scaring parents and making them feel like their children will die if they don't wear a mask. I would like to reiterate that it was proven that children are not as affected by this virus as adults with multiple comorbidities and illnesses. According to the CDC, only approximately 400 children have died from COVID in America since the pandemic has started. The media has tried to prove otherwise by threatening fearful parents that their kids may die if they don't wear a mask. Unless their kids are wearing properly fitted N95 masks, they can still catch and spread the virus. Infectious disease doctors have told me since I became a nurse, and I've been working in hospitals long before that, the best way to prevent the spread of infections and viruses is washing your hands, and I can support that. I also wish there was an easier way to get our voices heard. We all feel stuck. I feel stuck because I have to go to work. My boys need to go to school with or without a mask, and they love school. They love their friends. I guess I always took for granted that you would have our backs and have our kids' backs. My kids, their kids, your kids, all the staff, all the faculty, they all deserve a choice. Every time our kids say their Pledge of Allegiance, we are teaching them what a great country that we live in. We are showing them how lucky they should feel for living in a free country. Why are we not living by those words? I know you've addressed this already tonight, but I wish you could just explain the reasoning behind this. Do you agree? Are you fighting behind the scenes and we don't know it? Is there an end in sight? With that, I am going to read you what my son asked me to read last night because he did not feel comfortable coming here and speaking himself. He is 9 years old and in 4th grade. He said, "Parents are at home or at work knowing that their kids are wearing masks right now, and their kids are miserable when they come home. As a kid, I know what that feels like, and it feels way worse than it sounds. I miss seeing the smiles, or if someone is sad, from their facial expressions, to know if I should try to help them or say something to make them feel better. I also miss seeing the smiles of my friends' faces. Seeing the smiles means that they are happy or excited." Those are the words of a 9-year-old child, a perfectly healthy 9-year-old child that is being told to cover his face or he is threatening his friends' lives. I ask you to fight for him and fight for the rest of the kids and the teachers in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. At this time, Tina Hippler.
Hi, I'm Tina Hippler. I live at 107 Patrick Drive. I have a 9th grader. We had to pull him due to this mask mandate. I prepared something I was going to read, but you guys have already heard all that stuff. It took me 34 years to have this kid. I ended up with a heart condition. Almost died on this kid twice by the time he was 8 years old. Called my cardiologist when all of this first came out. And I explained to him, what am I supposed to do? I'm going into people's homes. I'm a social worker. What do I do? Treat it like the flu. Okay, cool. That's what I did. Did the mask thing when I had to. I'm sorry, I'm upset and very angry. When I get upset, my heart goes a little funny. When he came to school, he was excited because he had a very hard transition from going from a Catholic school to a public school, his choice. He came to the high school. His first few days were amazing. He came home, he was excited. He's now online. He's done with school at 9 o'clock in the morning. He can check in one time, clock in, do whatever you want to call it, and as long as he clocks out and he gets the homework done by midnight on Sunday, how's that an education? How's that teaching him anything? Okay? I'm still going into people's homes. And let me preface this before anybody says anything, gallery or here. He's vaccinated, his choice. I'm vaccinated, my choice. But now he still has to wear a mask when we're told that this vaccine was supposed to cure it all. It has not cured anything because you can still pass it, you can still catch it. I don't want a mask on his face because as a social worker and as mandated reporters, I don't know about solicitors, I don't know how that works. As teachers, school board members, you're mandated reporters. Can you tell me when you're teaching a class, when you're talking to a student, can you tell if that child's been raped? Can you tell if that child's been molested? Can you tell if that child is going home to a home that isn't the best home? I'm the one who deals with those kids. I'm the one who has to interview them, and I gotta be honest, I've been doing it for years, and I still have to have their mask off so that I can read their facial expressions. These kids cannot do this. I am for optional masking. If you wanna buy whatever anybody's selling, you be you. Those of us that do not want it for our children, should not have to make that choice of sending him to school and making him fall in line, basically, because we're teaching them, stand up for yourself, We're teaching them. Please come to us if you feel like you're being told to do something that you're not supposed to. But now you're making them sheep. You're making them follow whatever anyone says. You have a governor out there that's saying, follow me because I'm telling you to. Oh, wait, that didn't work. Okay, well, here's the Department of Health secretary, acting secretary. Do what I'm telling you to do because I'm telling you to do it. My child has 2 parents. And I hope this doesn't offend anybody. There were 2 people in that room when he was created. There were 2 people in that delivery room. I don't co-parent with you guys. I don't co-parent with the government. We don't accept any government subsidies. It is my job and my husband's job to raise my child to be a good citizen. This is not being a good citizen. And with that, I say thank you, and I apologize if you guys hear a lot of stuff, but I want you to know there's parents out here that are trying to do the best that they can. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This time, Doris Grady. Is Doris here tonight? Doris Grady. Melissa Cheplick.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Cheplick, 206 Caroline Jeanette. I want to start off by saying I'm not anti-mask, I'm not anti-vax, and I'm a pro-parent choice person standing before you today. I understand you're between a rock and a hard place with the speed and the timing of the stupid mask mandate that was handed down. And I have serious questions about where the interests of our solicitors lie. But I digress. If you've been watching the news, you all know that a vaccine mandate is coming. Pittsburgh Public and Philadelphia schools are already establishing their own mandates. A board member from up there has been said that the district won't do anything about vaccinations until there's a mandate. Instead of being in the defensive stance that the solicitor likes us to be in, I'm asking that we be on the offensive stance this time. All of you agree that the money and the backlash from the state are the reasons why you wouldn't stand up to the mask mandate. Not one of you questioned our dear solicitor. And to add insult to injury, you sent out a strongly worded email basically telling us constituents to shut up and stand down. Bravo to you. You drew a backbone for once. Unfortunately, it was to your constituents, the people that put you in those chairs. You say you have a lot to lose? We all have skin in the game, but the difference between us and apparently all of you is that money is more important than the health and the well-being of our children. I have put a line in the sand, and I won't cross it, and I hope that you will refuse to cross it as well, because the vaccine mandate is coming, and you need to step up and say no. As a teacher, I'm all about teachable moments, allowing my kids to learn from their mistakes so they get the bigger lesson. And lucky for you, you will get a second chance to bring up your now failing grades. Make no mistake, there will be a vax mandate, and I want to ask if you are going to fight back against it. The opportunity is coming to stand with us or cower to the state again. Now, I understand that standing up is hard. You aren't paid. It is a difficult job. You take it on the chin from people like me and those in this audience. However, the time has come, and you need to start representing the people who put you there. Or respectfully, I ask you to resign your positions so that we can replace you with someone who has the courage to take on the fight. There's 4 of you up there for re-election, and 3 are running uncontested. Shame on us. Shame on us. 3 are uncontested. But we're paying attention now. And if you withdraw your name from the ticket, I am sure that there are people in this audience who are going to replace you, and we will take on the state. We are fearless of the tyrant wolf, and our children's health is on the line. So I stand before you. You have an opportunity to bring up your abysmal grade from the past mandate. So as a teacher, I'll lay out a grading criterion in which the community will judge your performance. Number one, we want you to interpret it and all mandates as fitting to the verbiage of the mandate. Quit adding hoops to make it harder for us parents to stand up for our kids. Quit hiding behind the solicitor. Replace her with someone who respects the conservative values with the majority of this community. Be a leader and an example to the communities around us. Choose our children over funding and say no to the vaccine mandate that's coming. If you can't complete this assignment, step down. We'll take it on for you. If you choose to stay and continue to fail our children, we will continue to call, email, come to meetings, file lawsuits, organize, enroll in cyber charter schools. So make sure that we tie up the funding in some way or another so that your gains for selling out our kids is going to be used up for your legal fees. Choose to stand with us because we are an angry mom mob. Behind me, these women are going to fight to the last breath to protect our babies that we entrust to you every day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. At this time, Nika Kendall.
Nika Kendall, Mount Manor Road. I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Ingles today. Thank you again for clearing up a number of my questions and even for your failed attempt at alleviating my many concerns. As you're all aware, or should be aware, my son is on his 5th consecutive day absent from school due to your direct denial of entry to his public education facility based on your interpretation of a mandate. A mandate that does not, however, state that any medical documentation is necessary, let alone a doctor's signature to the effect is required to exempt my child from wearing a mask. Mask being the term I will be using to define the abusive medical apparatus which has been scientifically and medically proven to inhibit oxygen intake that is being required by you for my child to gain access to the educational approach in which he thrives. Because let me be very clear to everyone who is listening that you are still deceiving. It is absolutely the school board's decision to implement the 504 recommendation. Please stop saying their hands are tied. And if you really do believe that, please stop acting like it's an excuse for continuing to abuse children and ignore their constituents. Today, Mr. Ingles asked me if I would be willing to lose my job over this if I were in his position. I could not more sincerely or fiercely look into his eyes and say, yes, yes, I would lose my life if it meant my child would be safe, if it meant his children would be safe. I would never, ever prioritize professional preferment or financial gain or security over the life of a child, especially one whose protection I'd been charged with. I'm not here to speak for my child, as he has decided to do that himself. I'm here to speak for the thousands, yeah, we remember the survey, of parents who are still too afraid to tell you what they really think. I've heard testimony after testimony from students, staff, and parents describing the current state of misdirection the district is liable for. I'm sure I don't have to explain liability to you, considering it's the term you're employing and hiding behind. Who is liable for the death threats that students in your district are receiving from their peers? For the students who've been subject to segregation, harassment, and retaliation in response to your interpretation of this mandate? Can anyone confirm that students who are forced to wear a face shield or be maskless are being isolated from their peers in a classroom? Who is liable for the children whom suffer a medical condition from extended and unnecessary use of a face covering? Who is liable for the long-term effects surrounding the psychological impacts this will have on their children of the generation and every generation after? Let me clue you in. The DOH has left so much room for interpretation on their mandate purposefully. They've made you the gatekeepers, bearers, interpreters, and enforcers. Are you getting it? You will be held liable. That isn't to scare you into submission, though I know that's a working tactic. This is your notice. If you have been made aware and are in possession of all materials pertaining to the lack of mask efficacy and emphasis on pursuant injury, you are now liable for any damages incurred by parties in which you govern. You sure have awakened a sleeping, scared, previously compliant group of strong, brave, fed-up parents. I should mention this is only the beginning. When we first came to you to provide you with facts and to respectfully request that you make the right decision on what the overlords would like us to believe is a controversial topic, you ruled in favor based on a democratic process and what I truly believe you knew was right. The parents of PT were once again bragging about their district. We boasted last year to the other districts about how we hardly ever closed, and when we were forced to, the school financed and executed a state-of-the-art, interactive, all-inclusive, and flexible online learning program. It wasn't perfect, but you guys tried, and we commended you for that. Now you look in my face on the same day that I'm to speak of how you betrayed your community and tell me that Penn Trafford is for unmasking the children while simultaneously admitting the 504 is your choice. When did you guys stop trying? While I have your attention, I've received some other bad news regarding your upcoming legal situations outside of liability you've accepted for any child injured while wearing a mask. You are currently in violation of the First Amendment, in which children are being denied their constitutional right to breathe clean air. This includes without inhibition, as well as a parental authority choice protected under the 9th Amendment. I hope I don't need to remind you that you swore an oath of office to uphold our rights under the U.S. and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania constitutions. I feel bad that your solicitor may have failed to inform you that we, the people, may remove you from your very seats for this violation in itself. But if that's not enough, I'd encourage you to ask your solicitor about 42 U.S. Code Section 1983, where every person who under color of statute, regulation, etc., subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable to the party injured in an action at lawsuit, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress. I want you to know that there is a term for people that accept funds for complying with an unconstitutional order. The term is useful idiots, and I want you to find out how well it worked for those people in Soviet Russia. At this point, we're ready to forgive and forget, to be on your side in the very slim chance event that you would be reported on, charged with, and prosecuted for following the 504 recommendation. We are the majority, and we will fight for and beside you if you end this now. Or you can go with the 30% who claim to be so afraid of a virus that they request the covering of our babies' breathing holes without one shred of independent research on the efficacy of masks, impossibility of virus mitigation, or the statistics on how COVID affects the majority of children, how unlikely they are to transmit, just so they can send their kids into a germ-filled facility. In other words, on your own.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry, your 5 minutes are up, but thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Can I request one more second or two?
I'm sorry, it's other people's turns, but
Okay.
thank you. You got a lot in.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wasn't sure. In reference to what I said, just so you guys know, I actually received 52 signatures just in the last half an hour and 62 signatures. One is a petition to remove all of you, which I only need 10, and the other one is in support of you.
Please provide that for us then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, Grant Kendall. Thank you, ma'am, if you can help with the microphone. Oh, he does it himself? Whoa.
So, what do I do?
You tell us where you're from, Grant. Where do you live?
Mount Manor Road, 215. Mount Manor Road, 215.
That's close enough, thank you. Go right. So what do you have to say tonight? Oh, what grade are you in?
Third.
Third grade, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Grant Kendall. I live on Mount Manor Road. I am in third grade at PT. Well, I was in third grade at PT, but now you guys won't let me in. You guys told my mom 3 days in a row that I could not come into my school because I can't wear a mask, right? Okay. I miss my teachers, I miss my friends, but my mom and Nam have been keeping me on lots of schoolwork so I don't fall behind. Because my learning is important to them, because I am important to them, that is why they are fighting so hard for me. They are fighting for my friends and cousins too. I know how much they love me and want to protect me, and yeah, at a point, it is their job. But what is yours? My mom has always told me that my school is one of the best and how lucky I am to be there. But how can that be if they don't agree with the people who love me most? I know my school has to teach me, but don't they have to protect me too? I don't want to be somewhere with people that don't care about me or want to protect me as much as my parents and Aunt Pap do. And I know almost all of my friends hate the masks too. My mom said this is a fight for grown-ups. But when does what matters to me matter to you too? My friends and cousins want to breathe and laugh and make funny faces and hug while we learn. Is that too much to ask? I guess so.
Mom and Dad might rightfully proud. Very good. Thank you. At this time, Diana Allen.
Good evening. I am Diana Allen. I reside at 24 Pheasant Run Drive. I received several emails from the community here regarding the superintendent's contracts as well as all of the board members' contracts. I have here both superintendent's contracts. That would be Dr. Harris and Mr. Inglace. Dr. Harris's annual salary is $160,249.
Is that really relevant to what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute.
I would prefer you get to that. I don't think we're talking about people's salaries tonight.
That was approved out loud in public,
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Can we take my time back on that? Just give me about 5 more seconds. Okay. Dr. Harris's annual salary is $160,249.71. Mr. Inglaze's is $156,109.34. That's a total sum of $316,459.05 of our taxpayer dollars. Next, I have each and every board member's signed contracts that they had with their duties on it. They've also been notarized. And the first part of it is I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with my fidelity. Now I'm going to move on to some other important matters. This podium is becoming all too familiar to me. I walked out of here last week, and honestly, I felt defeated. I saw the look on all of your faces. I knew nothing was going to change. I thought all of our words fell on deaf ears, but I was wrong. I was so very wrong. Over the last week, I have received dozens of emails, phone calls, messages from parents, teachers, nurses, and community members. They share their stories of being harassed and pressured by teachers' unions to just accept the orders. They shared with me their children are suffering severe depression and contemplated suicide. One of the most tragic was from a friend whose father was forced into a nursing home filled with sick people, then isolated from family, and died a horrific death all alone at the hand of this heartless and cowardly governor. Today, I am speaking to you, the teachers and the faculty in the classrooms. You are our frontline workers. We know you're scared. We know you didn't sign up for this, but we need you. Our children need you, and this country needs you to stand up to these tyrannical unions and gutless politicians. What Joe Biden announced last week wasn't about health. It was about his declaration of power over the people. You all know the jab is next on the agenda. The government is not here to help us. It is here to control us and divide us. We cannot let it. I truly believe in the good of this country, and we serve a God that is more powerful than anything or anyone in Washington. Here comes a time where you either stand or take a knee, and that time is now. I am calling on all of the teachers, parents, community, and local leaders to have the courage to stand up and fight for what is right. In closing, I'm going to share a quote. The state must declare the child to be the most precious treasure of the people, as long as the government is perceived as working for the benefit of the children. The people will happily endure almost any curtailment of liberty and almost any deprivation. Can anyone take a guess at who spoke those words? Adolf Hitler himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. We must organize, rise, take back our community, our state, our schools, and our country. Thank you.
At this time, Ashton Selvig.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Ashton Selvig. I live at 1174 Claire J. Elliott Road, and I'm a 9th grader currently at Penn Trafford High School. And the last 3 years, they really sucked. I had to wear a mask, very uncomfortable, and if I cough or sneeze, and this includes some other people too, and I mean everyone, we were almost treated as terrorists, as if we did something wrong. And on Tuesday, September 7th, when me and many other people tried to enter this building, you kicked us out and told us to sign our name on a piece of paper. Now, my 8-year-old sister wears a face shield, now as I do, and my father, Anders Selvig, had to make adjustments to it, or customize it, so that it would actually make me able to be at school. Because the thing was giving me such bad headaches, I almost threw up. And this is just barely getting through first period. Now, many people want to create a war over mask or no mask. Come on, is this a joke? Like, we gotta stand up together. All I know is that my parents personally, and many other parents, want to be choice mask, which is, well, our rights. Now, we are young kids, and nobody in Westmoreland County under the age of 36 died of COVID-19. Under. So why are we playing this game? And 2 days ago, on Saturday, marked a 20-year memorial of the attacks on 9/11. We are more divided than I think we have ever been, even on that day, over politics, masks, COVID, race, and many more topics. Now, no matter what all you adults agree on, remember, this is what makes our country so great, the choice. Now, we made a popular statement. United we stand, divided we fall. And to close, hopefully you all have Jesus Christ in your heart by now. And if you don't, myself and others can help you on that. And the rest of my time is devoted to those who tragically died on 9/11. And good night.
Thank you, Ashton. You're leaving something for us. You can't be impressed by our students. We got students that can speak articulately from 3rd grade to 9th grade. Very good, very good. Very good. Okay, this time Devin Delemba. Is Devin here? All right.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Devin Delemba, and tonight I would like to address the mask exemption. I would like to ask the board as well as the school district why you have required a physician's signature on an exemption form whenever the state does not require you to do so. I have been told that the health department has told the school district that it is not unreasonable for you to ask for a physician's signature, but did they say that it was required? I would like to read to you the Acting Secretary of Health's letter dated from September 3rd regarding mask exemptions. Section 3 states that an exemption to a covering requirement. It lists multiple exemptions, but I would like to highlight one. If a face covering would either cause a medical condition, exhiberate an existing one, including respiratory issues that impede breathing, a mental health condition, or a disability. Further in the same letter, Section 4, it states what a school entity should not do. A school entity should not enforce a face covering required whenever there is an exemption under Section 3 or if it is unsafe to do so. Also, a school entity should not use force, physically remove any teachers, students, children, staff, or visitors who refuse to comply with this order. My second question to you is then why are you refusing education to children, whether or not it's an option by their parents because they do have a right, or in my case, if their child is medically exempt. My child was denied an education because I was unable to provide her physician's signature because I tried to get an appointment. I have provided multiple documentations to the school. It wasn't good enough. They told me that I needed a physician's signature. The state does not require that, and furthermore, her pediatrician's office stated that one, they were weeks out for well visits if it wasn't a medical concern, so she will be out of school for that period of time. And secondly, there are multiple people that their children are being removed from the school because they do not have a mask. I just ask you to please hear the majority. Please stand up for our children and for the future of this community. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. This time, Jessica Hetherington. Here's Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Hetherington. I live at 32 Weller Drive. On June 5th of 2020, Governor Wolf stated in a press conference regarding his actions by marching in a protest where he violated his own mandate. I thought the risk was worth it for the cause. He drew a line and he owned it. This is my line. My children are my line. The children of the Penn Trafford School District, who you represent, you chose to be on the board. You chose to run for office. You chose the responsibility that is on your shoulders. I know responsibility, I know liability, and I know the burden that it carries, but then again, I chose that doing what I do. On August 16th of 2020, the Penn Trafford School Board voted unanimously. That means all of you voted after discussing back and forth the facts, the ideas, the concerns, and I assume you spoke with the solicitor and got her interpretation of the totality of the CDC recommendation. Knowing the CDC recommendation, you voted unanimously to agree with the parents of the district and represent the parents of Penn Trafford, allowing it to be optional. I'm not anti-mask, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I am pro-choice for my body and my children's body across the board. If you want to wear a mask, then please feel free to wear a mask. And if the science works, then your mask and your vaccine protects you, so what does it matter what I do? 15 days later, the Penn Trafford board was given the mandate by the Department of Health acting secretary, a mandate which is not a law. The totality of the situation changed in your eyes. The only totality that I see changed was it went from being a decision about the best of the school district to your personal liability, to your personal responsibility. The facts didn't change, the statistics didn't change, your burden changed. And if you are not willing to accept the responsibility of being a representative of the school district, then I kindly ask you to step aside and allow those that have skin in the game to take the fight. Each board member took an oath to defend the U.S. Constitution and the Commonwealth Constitution. These documents contain our rights. They are absolute. A mandate is not. Nothing changed again. This is a bullying tactic by the governor and the Department of Health, and unfortunately, you buckled to it. So my question is, where do you draw the line? Was it the $613.97 that we got from the ESSER funds? Is that really important? Or is it the possible $300 fine for violating the mandate if it is even upheld? Because I can guarantee you that every person in this district would back you if you went for the majority of the district. The oath administered says defend with fidelity. It doesn't say when the going gets tough, you tuck your tail and you bow down. Fidelity means true character, demonstrating by loyalty and support. It doesn't mean represent yourself and your buddies. The solicitor gets paid to be legally proactive and defensive, to represent the Penn Trafford School District community. We, and you as our school board representatives, don't pay her to decide our fate. We pay her to fight for us. She is legally required to give you options, to tell you what's acceptable, what's extreme, and what's mitigated. She is not there to tell you the easiest way to fight. So if our school district and our families chose to fight this, then you should stand and represent our school district and our families. The solicitor has no skin in this game. I don't understand when you make a decision how you can unanimously say that masks are optional, and then 15 days later, change your mind. And not one of you stood by your convictions, unless you were lying the day you voted or you're lying today. So you either have convictions and integrity or you don't. I personally want the school board that draws the line, that acts in our best interest and will defend zealously with fidelity. Hypothetically speaking, right now, we have 2 Penn Trafford police officers in the back of this room.
Thank you very much for your comments this time. Thank you very much. And at this time, Pamela Zackel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pamela Zackel, and I reside at 37 Mary Lou Drive. I'm a 1989 Penn Trafford graduate. I'm the daughter of a 1963 Penn Joint graduate, and I am the granddaughter of a coal miner who settled in Claridge over 100 years ago. Needless to say, my roots run deep in this community. Although I consider myself to be a preserver of township history, I also consider myself to be a promoter of progressive thought. It deeply saddens me to see the divide among our community members at a time when we should be standing in solidarity during this public health emergency. Ironically, it is all of you who have brought us all together this evening. And that reaffirms the influential position that each and every one of you hold. In acknowledgement of this fact, I am here to thank you. Thank you for not going rogue and defying the state-issued mask mandate. Thank you for acting responsibly by not considering the placement of a motion on tonight's agenda to modify the district's exemption requirements. Thank you for shielding every taxpayer from the negative consequences litigation would have most certainly imposed. And most importantly, thank you for reinforcing to my 12-year-old daughter that sometimes we just need to follow the rule, even if we don't agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you. And at this time, Lisa Latito.
Hi, my name is Lisa Latito, 132 Twin Oaks Lane in Trafford. I do have something prepared, but I'd like to say something first. I'd like to compliment both sides of the aisle here this evening. What prompted me to come to this meeting tonight was actually attending Mass last evening at Mother of Sorrows. The gospel reading, for anyone who may want to look it up, was Mark chapter 8, verses 27 through 35. And the sermon was regarding standing up for something that you believe in. And both sides of the aisle tonight are doing just that. So I applaud everybody for coming out. And tonight, I'm speaking not as a parent. I don't even have any children. But I live in this community, and I'm a part of the Penn Trafford district. You represent the tax-paying people of this district, and so I'm here tonight to be a voice for the residents and parents in this district that believe in choice and believe in standing up for what they believe. We are the people that voted for you, and you were elected to be our voice. Not too long ago, the parents of this district spoke. A decision was made, and this board supported the parents of this district by allowing the use of masks in school to be a choice. And now we need you to honor that choice. How? By acknowledging and affirming that parents have the right to choose how to raise, protect, and decide what is best for their children and best for their care and well-being. I'd like to refer to a document written by an attorney, Eric Winter of Prince Law Offices in Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania. I actually brought a copy of this document to share with you for your review if you'd like it. This document lists the legal considerations that may not have been presented to you in respect to the Department of Health school masking order. One such consideration has to do with our Pennsylvania Constitution, specifically Article 9, subsection 2, that talks about home rule. Home rule gives local communities very broad powers to determine the organization and operation of local governments. The School Code of 1949 gave broad powers to school districts in terms of how to operate the schools as it states, the several school districts in the Commonwealth shall be and hereby are vested bodies corporate with all the necessary powers to enable them to carry out provisions of this act. There is nothing in the school code indicating that the authority of the Department of Health supersedes the authority of a school district. Let me say that again. There is nothing in the school code indicating that the authority of the Department of Health supersedes the authority of a school district. Additionally, there is no precedence for any negative action being taken against school board members or administrators for failing to follow a Department of Health order. That being said, I suggest that each of you read this document. Then I ask you to stand by your decision by allowing the parents the right to choose what is best for their child. If you fail us now, where will it end? Mask mandates today and vaccine mandates tomorrow. If you want to set precedents, then do it. Be leaders for the Commonwealth. Stand up for the people that you represent. Stand up for the inequality and the injustice that has been imposed on the parents of this community. Take the authority given to you and uphold parental choice in this matter. Be the leaders that we know you are and make the decision to do the right thing. Stand by your choice by honoring ours. I would like to thank you all because I do understand you have a difficult job. I plan to give a copy of this document to Dunbar's office, but I do have one this evening. If I could leave it with someone, I will. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Tanya Bozak.
Hi, my name is Tanya Bozak, and I live on Rizzi Drive in Irwin, PA. Good evening. Last year at the school board meeting, right before the year began, a parent spoke at that meeting. She spoke about not masking our children, and a very small handful of parents attended. That meeting was in a small classroom. One school board member came out at the end and talked to the few parents that attended, telling us how this was not your wish, but you were bound by the state to put these mandates in place. I was impressed with that school board member who sought us out afterwards to talk to us and thought, wow, these are the good guys. I feel bad for them. We understood, and we did not really have enough knowledge of the virus in school settings and how it affects our children, so we complied for an entire school year. We spent the rest of the year trying to defend the school board and administration whenever anyone would speak ill of the actions that were taken. We felt like we should support your decision. I mean, why not? These people are the leaders in our districts, and they would obviously have the health and safety of our children as their #1 priority, correct? Flash forward a year later. We have 2 years of living with COVID under our belts. COVID is not going away, the same as the flu and many other illnesses that affect our children. Sadly, this past week has shown us who the good guys are, and wow, what a disappointment that has been. Are the masks about the children's health or not? This is the only question our school board should be asking when creating hoops for parents of this school district to jump through to get an exception as outlined in Section 3B of the health order. The answer on the school board's agenda, on what the school board's agenda was, and what this was all about became clear when only Mr. Leonard spoke after the testimonies this past Tuesday. Everyone else cowered in their chairs, avoiding eye contact with the crowd, and I'm sure hoping to be adjourned as soon as possible. Not a peep. The agenda became more crystal clear when I read an article the next day where one of our school board members was quoted as saying, "We're talking about $24 million in funding. It's not small change." Really? I repeat, he said, quote, "We're talking about $24 million in funding. It's not small change." There was not one word in that article about the kids' health. Why are we not talking about the kids' health? Is their present and future health small change then? Well, at least we know what price is on our children's heads to mask them up in Penn Trafford. Do the math. 3,909 enrolled PT students, it comes to $6,139, and a little bit of change. I think our students and their present and future health, physically and mentally, are worth more and are quite frankly priceless. We elected the school board to defend it. I was wondering if you can give me a price for the next mandate, which I'm guessing would be the vaccine. We'd like to know this going forward. What would the school board consider a great deal to sell out our children at that point? $7,000 a child, $8,000, $10,000? Please tell us. The taxpayers deserve to know this going forward. In the article, the school board member also mentioned we had 30% of our parents that are very emotional about the mandates. You do realize you represent the majority of this community and our values, the 70% per se? At some point, everyone in this board will have to choose who they represent. You cannot stand on the line forever and try to make everyone happy. Choose which side you're on. Quit lying to both sides in an attempt to quell each of us for the time being, and hope we will tire and stop fighting. We are not stop fighting for our kids. Quit hiding behind the governor and your solicitor. Take a stand. Choose which side you're on. Quit sitting there silently and looking down upon us as if you rule us and our children. You do not. We elected you to stand for our kids, not to be bought out by $24 million in funds and a baseless threat of losing certifications. Be brave. Take a stand for our children or resign. We will replace you with someone who is brave, someone who has the courage to do the right thing. 70%, there are 70% on our side. Many are afraid to show up and speak up. I can assure you they're angry and they're watching. You will not crush our spirits. Let me tell you, with each tightening of the reins you put into place, each time you hide behind your solicitor, each time you send your email at 3:50 on Friday evening or Saturday on a holiday weekend, when no one can come back at you because you are out of the office, the movement grows stronger, and those afraid to speak grow braver by the minute. We speak for the 70%. Your actions are not about our kids' safety. If they were, our babies would be allowed to breathe freely while they're attending schools. Our tax dollars fund. The same way hundreds of thousands of fans at college NFL football games across the country were all weekend. You do not have our children's best interests in mind. You're enslaved to whatever mandate is shoved down our kids' throats in efforts to secure funds for your school. Do you feel powerful? You will tell us this is about the children. In the past, we believed you because there really weren't any hard, controversial decisions you had to make. We went on believing in the innate goodness of the people we elected. Those days are over. We demand accountability.
I'm sorry, ma'am, at this time, your 5 minutes are up. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I think all of our people that have signed up to speak have spoken. If any board member has anything they'd like to share at this point? If not, you're welcome to stay for the rest of our board meeting. Incidentally, I'm the one that made that quote. It was a reference point to the 24 million so people know what it is. Another reference point is that was not a referendum, it was an opinion poll. We have over 12,000 taxpayers in our school district. And so we represent more than 3,000 people, whatever. There's 12,000 that we represent. So there's more to it than that. So the 70%, obviously it had impact, and we thank you for that. But there's over 12,000 taxpayers in this school district. So we try to keep that in mind. So thank you very much. At this time, we'll go on with the regular board meeting. You're welcome to stay, or if you would like to leave, you're more than welcome. All right. We have no items under old business? Correct? And topics of discussion, our executive session. The board convened for an executive session at 5:15, and we discussed personnel, contracts, negotiations, attorney advisory, and litigation. The board also received information on air quality control measures for air filtration. Okay. This time we move on to the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action? Does anyone have anything that needs to be removed? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted under one motion?
Motion.
Okay, it's been moved. We have a second?
Second.
All right, move, second. Any question?
Question.
All right, at this time, be a roll call vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay. All right, at this time, Mr. Petrucci, employee personnel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to employ the following personnel. New employment is contingent upon the receipt of all necessary documentation acceptance of Act 34, 151, 114 waivers from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania within 30 days. Heather Boss, speech pathologist, half-time at a rate of $24,248 per year. Nicolette Smith, SLA at Trafford Middle School at the rate of $29,500 per year. Alexis Martonic, special education classroom instructional aide at Penn Middle School at the rate of $29,500 a year. Lori Alexander, billing aid in Chafford Middle School at the rate of $10.25 per hour, effective the beginning of the school year. Christy Herzog, PCA at McCullough Elementary School at the rate of $11.35 per hour, effective beginning of the school year. And Melissa Weiner, PCA at Sunrise Elementary School at the rate of $11.35 a year, effective beginning of the school year. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Motion's on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded. Question?
Question.
All right, at this time, roll call vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
And I want to thank you
Thank
for
you.
hiring those people tonight. We had the extra staffing, and especially with Heather Boss, all the teachers, we needed an extra speech pathologist because the numbers have grown. Number of students with needs have grown.
Okay, thank you. At this time, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report at this time.
Okay. And at this time, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
It's been moved, seconded?
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any questions?
Question.
Okay, motion carries. We are adjourned.